Well, we're going to dive right into this. So, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tangents and Shenanigans. We're talking about episode 3, The Path. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, I'm going to let you guys say what you thought overall of the episode, and then I'll go. I don't want to go first.
Okay. Um, I feel like the show is listening to probably the immediate critiques that their fans would have,
Like doing
especially me.
a Disney thing, like a
No,
Disney
like
trope.
in a good way. Like I was a little bit critical about the siege because I'm like, oh, well, now you're just not gonna, Ellie's just gonna have even more reason to just leave. But then they did this. I thought what they did was a kind of a smart thing, and they said, okay, now 3 months we're recovering. Because I didn't want Jackson to be this like means to an end. Like I didn't want it to be this town where like this is where the character stays, and then once it gets challenged and destroyed, we'll never see it again. Like I really
Mhm.
wanted it to
Gotcha.
be like kind of a lasting like plot element, and I
Mhm.
want it to be something that you can build upon and not just something that you can throw away and just move the story along. And
Yeah,
so
I get that.
when they moved forward um 3 months showing the rebuild and then all of the scenes associated with that, I really dug that. I really it kind of, to be honest, it made all of my arguments and critiques like kind of irrelevant, and
Mhm.
so it made me like re-engage, and like it made me okay about the siege. um it made me like episode 2 more, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's almost pulling like after watching Rise of Skywalker, the last Star Wars movie, you appreciate The Last Jedi, the one before it a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. God,
But we
anything
won't
but
talk
that.
about that. Okay, but so
Yeah.
you liked the episode overall?
Yeah, and I think it was a necessary breather.
Okay. I do agree with you on the breather part. Nick, what did you think?
I am very decisive with this episode. I'm kind of torn because I do agree, like, the beginning of the episode where the rebuilding Jackson was perfect. And plus, I did like how they kind of expanded the whole. How was it, like, Ellie going to Joel's house? Like, they kind of expanded that a little bit more than what we got in the game, which was really, really nice. Where,
Mm,
you get to see a little bit more of the house, and then she has the conversation with Dina. But I think what makes it where I'm torn with this episode is they they revealed a few things a little too early, or I wish they would have kept the mystery of some things, I guess.
okay. Okay. I think I know what you're
Yeah,
getting at.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
I
I
know
know
what
what
you're
you're
yeah,
getting
getting
at.
at here.
yeah, and I
Um,
think that's what's tearing me on this episode. Where it's like the episode's good, but then at the same time, there's just that little bit of things where I'm just like, why?
okay. Well, I did not really like this episode. Um, and I think primarily the first time I was watching it, because I did watch it a second time, because I felt like I was watching it with a critical eye the first time around. I did not like the jump 3 months ahead because I had to like pause it, go back to the game, and I'm like, wasn't it like the next day? Uh, but I understand, like, in the game, Ellie doesn't feel that much pain. Uh,
Right.
so her getting kicked in the gut and then also like getting knocked out. Like I don't remember if she got
Yeah.
like a broken nose from that first kick in the game because she gets knocked out right there, and then
Yeah.
when she
Yeah.
comes to,
Mhm.
she
Which,
sees Joel's
yeah,
body.
I mean,
But
obviously, my first thing was when she wakes up and is having to be in a hospital, and I'm like, did she get like a collapsed lung? Like, why is
she
she having to?
did,
Oh, she did.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Did you
were
see the
they,
tube
they
in
were
her side?
draining it. Yeah, they were draining out the fluid. So again, for that, it makes sense. But I was so conflicted because the whole pursuit of Abby taking place right after the fact, like fresh on their trail, is present in the game, and they decided, you know what? No, we're gonna let her fester with this, and she's not gonna have a choice. We're gonna keep her in this hospital until she's cleared to go, not just physically but also mentally, because I did like that they added the PTSD early on instead of
Mhm.
getting it later in the later in the game. Um so yeah, I don't know. I didn't enjoy this episode as much as I would have liked, but I did like several things about it. But performance wise, I could be alone here, but I felt like Bella Ramsey was kind of phoning it in on certain scenes. I didn't capture the same energy or the same emotions as they did with like the motion capture with Ellie. But I know I have to take it, take it with a grain of salt. They can only do so much, but I don't know. Certain scenes that I felt were pivotal. I thought the game did it better. I'll be curious once we get to those scenes, like what you guys think. But so like in the beginning of the episode, you see like the burning wreckage, right? The remains of like all the infected right at the gates. First of all, cool shot, right? Like that, I thought that was pretty cool. And then it like leads into Tommy in the it's like the red tinted room.
It's like a mortuary almost.
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
a
where all the
mortuary.
where all the bodies are there from the assault. So it almost diminishes the significance of Joel's body being there amongst the crowd because he was the only one that was wronged in a different way than the others. They were all killed in quote unquote a natural way from the infection, or the infected, I should say. But I did like that moment that Tommy had with Joel when he was kind of like cleaning his wrist. And then he like wiped over the watch and he said, give Sarah my love. I'm like, oh, you're gonna do us like that.
Yeah. I can't believe he even opened up the little sheet to see his brother's face one last time. I'm just like, damn.
Well, I think that was just to confirm. Like for him, I think we're led to believe that's the first time he's seeing.
Well, he saw the watch already, so what did he know? That's Joel already without necessarily seeing his beaten face.
Yeah, but I think it's just like overall to confirm what your suspicions are. It's like you can never be satisfied with the implication of the truth. You have to find out, Yeah. Kind of like that. In the shots in the hospital, right after that scene, I did feel for her, because as soon as she like woke up, immediately traumatized with a vision of seeing Joel. Like that's rough. And then they had to sedate her in that moment.
I almost thought that we were getting like Abby's places because they have all the hospital stuff and all the gear at first. I was like, oh,
yeah,
are they already
I thought it was
towards
actually
Abby's group?
yeah, I did get a little confused by it at first with location, but then obviously it kind of corrected itself. Although I wasn't really quite captured by that scene when she was freaking out. I was just like, oh, I'm like, what are we shouting about? But I'm not an expert on PTSD, so once it kind of digested it, I was like, oh, okay, it's a PTSD thing, and also probably just general trauma.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know. I think it was a good move to portray it earlier, like early on, like instead of later in the game. Because I'm trying to remember in the game, you don't really have your first panic attack until you're on the farm, like in the last act of the game, right? Before that, you come across a dead corpse and you see like a image of Joel, and you have like maybe that's like the first slight panic attack, but the real one's on the farm. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So no, I was okay with it. I guess like I liked it and I wasn't like bothered by it. But when they fast forward 3 months and they start showing the rebuilding of Jackson, they cut over to like Tommy and Jesse. You see Jesse seems very angry at that post as he's like hammering it in. He's going through some things. So he's all like, it's showing a troubled Jackson. Like everyone in there is like fighting their own personal battle and suffering their own loss. In addition to Joel, because we do realize like Joel did have a place in the community, and a lot of people did care for him. We can tell by in front of his house later in the episode that there's tons of flowers, both wilted and fresh. So I thought that was a nice touch, and they capture that perfectly from the game too. Um, but
I thought that scene was mainly just, hey Tommy, you're an old man, and I can do this better.
right?
I didn't even look into it that deep. I was just like, yeah, you're an old man, and ha ha ha, I'm young.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because, like, I feel like in that scene, like Jesse was the. I felt like the camera was focusing more on him, and in this episode, it's confirmed that he earned his spot on the council. So it could be like a boost in confidence, or an extra like measure of responsibility weighing on his shoulders that he's feeling in that scene. I don't know, but yeah, that maybe I am looking too much into it. But back to the hospital when Ellie is like, back to normal. She gets cleared from like the physical portion and then is said to go see Gail, right? So return
Mhm.
of Catherine O'Hara. And this whole scene, it felt like it was just line reading after the next. Like, I don't know. Like, what did you guys think about this scene?
I thought it was okay. Like she's just, you could tell she doesn't want to talk with her. Like it's kind of like how Joel was a little bit, where he's kind of hesitant to even say anything to her. And I
Mhm.
do kind of like how she kind of was. I still feel like we're still going to get a certain like scene later on in the show, whether it be probably my guess season 3 is when we kind of get the flashback to Ellie and Joel on the porch, just because of how things kind of happen
Okay.
later in the episode too,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
of how she kind of explains, oh yeah, I didn't talk to Joel, we didn't talk to anything. And even when Gail said he said he saved you. That little click, that little moment that she had when she looked at Gail when she said that, that's the look of, yeah, Joel told me that too on the porch. Because if you remember in the game, he's like, I don't regret doing what I did. He's like, I say do not do it again. So that look kind of indicated that she heard that before, and then her being her, she's just like, yeah, he saved me plenty of times or whatnot. And he's like, and
Mhm.
she's just like, I didn't get a chance to talk to him, and I'll have to, go from there.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because that was something I was considering when she was like delivering those lines, Ellie. I'm like, okay, so she's basically saying what's necessary to be said to clear her out of there so she can go
Hmm.
out. So none of this can be taken seriously, and Gail reads right through it, but she releases her anyway
Yeah.
because Ellie says the right things, and she's not showing any other like signs of aggression. But if it were Sarah
Well,
Connor in that seat, it's like, well, we're gonna wait another 6 months
well,
to release you.
no, but she also doesn't want to go into it. She's like, this. There's something that's layered that is a lot. That's going to be more than just a 10-minute conversation,
Yeah.
Right.
and that I'm gonna guess for her reading the general environment being like, I'm not going to go into that, like that's if
Yeah.
she wants to do that on her own time over a period of time, yes, but we're not going to try to dissect and get that open.
No, because you're gonna be met with a stone wall.
Yeah, she's also
But
probably
Hmm.
really like in terms of the actual like what's the word I want to say, the the actual relevancy of, because it's like, think, yeah, okay, a like apocalypse, and then has like, oh, I'm the therapist in the apocalypse, like I would say, especially for how crumbled civilization is for that point and how fragile it is, it's very like, I think it goes very into the what is it, you really prioritize what is essential in that kind of world.
mhm.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, even if people who haven't seen it, I bet you people who are watching it, they're like, "Oh, I'm the therapist," and I bet you half of them go like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting," and then the other half are like, "Dude, this is survival. Like, we're just trying, like, in terms of the hierarchy of needs and that we need right now, I don't know how high that is, even though like we value it in modern society heavily. It's I feel like I'm imagining Walking Dead where Rick finally just goes like, "Yeah, this isn't a democracy anymore. Like, I don't care about your feelings. Like, I just need to
Yeah.
get the job done." Kind of like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
they talk about like with seafaring captains, it's like you can't have a democracy when a battle's about to happen. And this kind of, this environment is a very much like a heightened conflict that's prolonged. And so, just that kind of tangent going like, I bet you this therapist is also not questioning her practice, but really being picky about like, is this something that with the tools I have, I really should start diving into, or is this something that like I just really just need to like basically put on the quick band-aid so that you can just be a functioning member of society, and then over time figure out the bigger problems, figure out the bigger wounds. Like, yeah, it'd
Mhm.
be kind of like if a medic saw saw someone who clearly needed like a major surgery and was like, dude, like I'm a medical professional, but I can't fix that. Like, you're gonna have to do something else or go somewhere else. I can give you this to like I can give you like almost like I can give you like a painkiller so that you can keep functioning day to day, but you're gonna need to get this problem fixed, and I just don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's it. I also think that they really, the show and these writers really want to vocalize the theme of not just mental health, but of PTSD, of just general spectrums of emotion, of, just other stresses and the emotional side of an apocalypse. And this is a clear theme message deliverer of that. Like, it's going to show throughout this, but you kind of need someone to like almost like in not inception, but like introduce the idea so that you have that in the back of your head so that you're kind of looking out for it through later in the season. I think that's kind of what this character is really about, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I was gonna touch on, Nick, what you were mentioning is I don't think, and like Jacob, like I wonder if you agree. Like, do you think that there actually is a porch scene that we just don't see in the first episode, and it's like later that evening, and then we do get it later on?
Yeah,
I
I think
think
you
Because
have
so.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The coffee,
Yeah.
just skipping real quick, and we'll get into it when we get
oh,
to
the
the
coffee
scene.
beans.
The coffee beans, because
Mhm.
even though we seen her and Joel, together on the wild, and he loves his coffee, I still think that little her having the coffee beans or whatnot is an indication that we did get the scene, and it's just I think they're saving that for a little later. I think
I hope
we
you're
will,
right.
yeah.
I hope you're right because this show without that scene needs to be replaced by um, so many more flashbacks that they didn't already have planned
Mhm.
up because I know they have the birthday flashback scene
Oh yeah. Mhm.
eventually, whether it's this season or the next. But I will be upset if they didn't because like the first viewing, I'm like, are they really gonna? No, they couldn't. But they even in the first season, like when they're camping out, I don't know if it's episode 3 or 4. When it's I think it's like right before they meet Henry and Sam. Joel is drinking coffee and she's like, "What is that?" And he's like, "It's coffee." And she like tastes it. She's like, "Tastes like what does she say? Like tastes like bitter dirt or something."
Yeah, something
Um
like that.
well, whatever she says, but I think she knows like the coffee love is there, but I did like that scene by the
Yeah.
graveyard. But
Yeah.
what were you gonna say, Jacob?
Oh, I just was saying, by the way, you could totally make that into a show just about like, I mean, because you think about what, 20 years? The coffee is not a thing. Like, coffee is made in a very specific geographical area.
Hmm.
Like, you could totally make a show about someone who just like during an apocalypse just like goes across
Makes
the like
coffee.
world and no and like delivers coffee to people. Like that's his job. Like to not deliver like 20-year-old stale coffee that people can't drink anymore. Like, oh, we actually make coffee, but like I need to go through the world to like give it to settlements. I it made me think that'd be a funny like kind of like almost make it like kind of like a comedy where it's
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
went across the world for what? Oh, to deliver coffee. It's like, yeah, but it's super valuable. People really want it.
So
So,
so after this episode, we're gonna have a Patreon link to building the building the
yeah.
screenplay for this movie to be made,
Yeah.
No,
and your contribution could make a difference.
no, please. We're not doing that.
Why?
You watch, you watch.
Hey, we'll
No.
we'll have a Tangents and Shenanigans coffee.
Oh,
Dude,
man.
that'd be bold. Um, bold roast. Hey now. All right, so back. Okay, so like once Ellie's cleared, and they leave. She leaves the hospital. She goes to Joel's house, And I do like that she lingers in the house, kind of exploring around, and we see this, the same way it was left, essentially. And you see, like, Western decor, and she goes upstairs and she sees um, the case with like the watch and then the revolver, and immediately
Mhm.
she's like, "Yep, this revolver is going to come in handy." And then goes over to the closet and gets the jacket. Smells the jacket. I know, like, I remember this scene in the game, how hard that scene was, but the only thing that was
Yeah.
different is Dina was with her when Ellie went into the house. And the only difference in this show is that Dina arrives after she's already there. But I did like that they added this scene. I thought that was crucial. And like a single tear drops. So like that was good that we had that. And then when Ellie goes downstairs after Dina alerts her that she's there, bringing cookies of all of all things, she reveals that she withheld information when Ellie was at the hospital, realizing that Ellie was not in the condition that she would be in, ideally, to go on this pursuit of Abby.
It's
So I
fair.
understand, and I understand like Dina's reasons. It was the right decision.
Yeah.
Dude,
Right.
I'm Team Dina, man. Dina's
She's
like
amazing,
one of
isn't
the
she?
She's great.
she's like one of the best things about this show. I'm gonna tell you right now. Like,
Especially later on too. But you're absolutely right. She is the golden star so far.
yeah.
And you know what else?
Hmm.
I actually like another character that has a major arc in this episode. I feel, and we'll get to it.
I know
Yeah.
exactly.
I was very surprised. I was very
Yeah.
surprised. I'm
I
like,
liked it. It
oh.
created a great dynamic, but let's
Hmm.
not get there yet because we all know who you're talking about.
Yep.
So once Dina spills the tea on the WLF to Ellie, catches her up to speed on who all the players are, including Abby herself. They state that they should go through the proper channels. Let's go through Tommy, and then that it's going to go to council, and they'll have to vote for it. So let's just do this first, regardless if you want to go right now. So they go to Tommy, and then Tommy's like, and this is the one thing that I wasn't quite sure how I felt about. Tommy states that, yeah, he has their back, but he states that Joel would not have pursued in revenge, versus the means of actually saving someone that's still alive. I was curious what you guys thought of that. Like, knowing that Joel that we've come to know, do you think that is also accurate?
I would say yes. I
Yeah.
would say he wouldn't.
Hmm.
Because the only reason why most of his behavior, like the only times that Joel's behavior becomes irrational, is because of Ellie. It's because of protection. Um, his whole arc before meeting Ellie is like, why are we doing this? This is a risk. Like he's very calculated about risk
His
assessment,
survival. Yeah.
Yeah.
survival. He doesn't tie any kind of sympathy with that. And and for him, that's what he's viewed as keeping him alive. And then when Ellie comes in and through their arc, that's when the irrationality comes in. That's when the protectionism comes out. That's
The
and
paternal instincts,
the
if you
paternal
will.
instincts, and yeah, just the instincts that kind of go against his just baseline morals. And so, yeah, Tommy's right. If so and so was dead, you're not going to, doesn't matter. That person's gone. You're not going to go across the country trying where you could easily get picked off by a bunch of bunch of infected on the way. There's too high of a risk traveling that far just for revenge.
Yeah,
That
and it
makes
kind of
no
harkens
sense.
back to Sarah's death if you think about it, because like when his actual daughter died, did he seek revenge for her at all? Like, no, he's not going to
No,
go up against
no,
the whole
because Tommy
mission.
shot the dude in the
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Yeah, that
But I'm
revenge
just
was had
saying,
real
yeah,
quick.
but I'm just saying he wouldn't go up against a full army like that just to get his revenge for something like that, if that makes sense. Like
I mean, he didn't really have an
yeah,
opportunity to, but I mean, I think, probably the best scenario, or best case, maybe, no, that's not the best case, um, is when Ellie gets captured. Um,
mm,
Ellie gets, what was it?
Oh,
Ellie,
from Robert and his gang,
Oh,
yeah, like
or
right.
not Robert?
Yeah.
David. David.
Yeah,
David,
Sorry.
yeah.
he goes all torturous mode on them, but again, Ellie's still alive. But he kind of justifies maybe um, some of his repressed anger on that, and justifies it as like, this is to help someone. So it's even also with killing all the people in the hospital, it's to help. He's using it to justify things.
Mhm.
Anyways,
No,
Tommy's
it's
right. I think Tommy's 100% right about this. Like, don't take that necessary risk. I'm dead. Joel's gone. Like, what's the point?
I think it's also enforced, even like recalling the first game. I said his name earlier, Robert, because I was thinking about that the whole time you were talking about that. I'm like, he was even like hesitant to go up against Robert after Tess said like, oh yeah, some of his goons jumped me, but Robert stole our stuff and we have to go get it back. And you could even tell that like even he like didn't really want to go up against it, but he's like, okay, well, he's got our shit. Like there's something that he has that we need, therefore I need to go do this.
Mhm.
um Whereas like in the lakeside, when Joel's in pursuit of Ellie, she could be dead and he doesn't know that yet, and he still would like go through, and I feel like he would still go through and murder all those people, if he was in pursuit of Ellie and thinking that she was alive, and then happenstance realizing like, oh shit, I was too late.
Mhm.
I don't know. I could see it going both ways, but Jacob, I
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, it took me a minute, but then I thought like, okay, realistically, if he didn't think there was a chance in saving anyone or any potential gain, he wouldn't take the unnecessary risk, 100%. Um, and then from here, what do we get? I called it. We get the fucking Seraphites.
Ugh.
Full frontal, man.
Aren't they
I
called scars? Is my
they're called
Yeah,
scars.
Seraphites, but
Yeah.
the wolf calls them scars. Their
Okay.
nickname.
Yeah, because Nicole's like, who are these people? I'm like, oh. And then when they did the scene, I'm like, man, they're making them be real nice. Like,
They are. They're
Yeah,
trying to with
and
the kid, right?
I
They're
and I
trying to
know,
like,
I know,
yep.
and I am
yeah.
like, they are not portrayed this way in the
This
game.
is
No.
where I got so torn with the episode. So we know in the game that we only get hints of this group sprinkled throughout the game, where we see the little drawings and paintings, and even see some
Rumors
stuff
of the
about the prophet.
prophet.
And then we don't run into them until the park scene where we get shot in the arrow and we hear the whistle. So when they showed up on screen, I don't know if I necessarily liked it that they showed them this early, because that's where I kind of wish they kept the mystery around the group a little more than just flat out be like, "Hey, look at this new group." If that makes sense,
Mhm.
like it made sense like when they showed the WLF, of course, but with this group, I was just like, uh, yeah, that's where I was just torn. I wish they kept the mystery just a little bit, but knowing the show, they do want to push things along, so I get it. So for the show, they wanted them to just be like, okay, here's an art group that you got to kind of like know about, and I think that's for the audience who's never played the game, so that way it's like, okay, who are these groups of people?
Mhm. Well, I
Yeah,
do think that it could still like the mysterious intrigue can still be executed when Ellie is traveling alone and she just hears a whistle, because she doesn't know how they communicate with each other.
yeah.
So they could still surprise us with that
I
in
know.
the
I just
same
wish we
manner.
would have gone them in the park, and then we heard the whistle, and we're all like, "What the fuck was that?"
It's
type deal.
hey,
I don't
hey,
know.
buddy,
Yeah.
it's just
Mm.
set up.
I
Yeah,
know.
no.
It's
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
Yeah.
in my opinion, they only introduced that scene to sow the seeds of conflict in future episodes.
yeah,
Right.
that's
That's
it.
I
Yeah.
think that's
Mhm.
the only reason why they added them. They added them because all of us know, scars, I'm not messing with them. Like, that's they crazy. They've been doing some wild stuff.
Oh yeah.
But obviously for the viewers that don't know that, they add this scene to be like, oh, they're the victims. Like there are these
Mm,
people that have a different way of life, and oh, the wolves came and killed them. Like, oh my goodness, like they're really bad. Like they're the villains. And
But
then what's going to happen is some scene's going to show up where it's going to show that the scars are a little bit more extremists and show a little bit more
yeah.
irrational behavior and a little bit more violent behavior. And then you're going to be like, oh wait, but I thought they weren't that bad, like from this scene. And so no, it was all to create like future conflict, like with about feeling about these kind of people. That's all this I think
Hmm.
this was.
Yeah.
And then the question becomes, is that going to pay off? Like,
Right. The big payoff, right?
is doing that now, setting up that environment now, worth the alternative? Which the alternative would have been like to show them, Nick, like what you're talking about, which is,
Hmm.
oh, show them in a much more fearful, little bit more primal trait, something to be very like cautious of, a new element that strikes fear.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
so we'll have to see if it's a risk, but we'll see how it pays off.
well, the thing that I was remembering from the game is when the dot like in that scene, the way it's kind of constructed is you see like them like kind of like walking the path, and then you hear like a whistle off in the distance from like the lagger behind them, giving like the coast is clear. And then the leader of the pack, also the father of this this little daughter, that's asking for, we'll call her Baby Thor, right? Lady Thor,
Yeah.
Lady Baby Thor, because she wants her hammer. So upon the exit of the scene, they hear a different tone of the whistle, indicating there's a threat and to hide. And the daughter even asks, like, demons? And he's like, no, like, because the demons are what they call the infected. And then he
Right.
says wolves, and it's like, oh shit. So we don't know if that's the same assault of the wolves as depicted in like the last bit of this episode. We don't know if that was them, but I was super stoked. We'll get there. But I love that ending shot. So yeah, I was okay. I was okay with them introducing the Seraphites early, just like as what Jacob was suggesting is like it's to promote like both conflicts and to show each
Right.
side.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, not everyone's a villain, but the show is uh it's about like an endless cycle of violence. So that no matter what, no matter who you are or who you belong to, you're in this repetitive cycle, whether you want to be in it or not. And it's just a matter of like how you choose to respond to it. Um, Now, this is something like moving on a little bit. This is something that I also thought was interesting. That I don't know if it was Jesse that said it to Ellie, or if it was Dina, but um, I felt like there was like two mentions of Ellie having anger issues. Did you guys catch that?
Ye-
Um,
um.
well, I think
It was
I don't know.
referenced twice specifically.
I don't know, and I think I know what scene you're referencing. I don't think it's so much that she has anger issues, but in that she has, kind of being reactionary and being emotional. And
Yeah.
Jesse is really trying to sell. Like, I actually thought it was it is a great point, which I think that a lot of people, I think that was kind of more of a broader message for other people, but to be like, write it down. Don't just, don't just say it.
Hmm.
And so, and he's like, they're not gonna like, this emotionalism that you're probably gonna give off isn't going to convince them. And I 100% agree. I'm like, writing it down comes from a rational thought, comes from a planned thought, and it makes for a more compelling argument to, be a little bit more reserved and a little bit more level-headed. And so I don't think it was so much anger, but I think it was more like you're acting emotionally. You're not you're not thinking straight, and do this so that they can see that you're not just reacting personally.
Yeah.
Which was a good piece of advice for him to give her, and she does follow through with that too, which I did like.
I
Um,
like that too.
and before we get to the council meeting, was there anything at up to this point that you guys had noticed or really liked?
I'm overall liking these setups. I'm liking these setups. I'm liking these story elements that they are trying to plant. I mean, I'm seeing it, but I'm glad that they're doing it, and they are surprising me at this point. And I do like. I liked how they kind of set up the next. I'm gonna call it act of this show. I'm really
Yeah,
like
the
that. They
world
weren't.
building,
They
pretty
didn't
much.
just.
Yeah.
They kind of eased into it. They didn't just jump right into it and have you ride on emotion. They're really just kind of going, okay, let's marinate on this and
Yeah.
then take a
Hence the
step
3
forward.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really thought that was a good option because I was really skeptical about like, okay, you're basically creating this for, and then it's going to be a plot point, and no, I really dug it. But bring on my boy Seth, who
Yeah. So in the
who went
Hell
full
yeah.
who
hang
went
on.
full Republican. He went
Hang
like
on.
everyone's like world order, and he's all like, "What the fuck? We're winners, all right." And I'm not letting someone take a piss on my fucking doormat and not letting them get shit for it. And I'm like this guy, and I'm sitting there going, "Ooh, look at that conflict right there." Like
Yeah.
Ellie totally wants to feed, like she in her heart agrees with it, but doesn't like this guy. I'm like, "Ooh, how do you feel about that, Ellie?"
And then it's so funny because like Maria's like, Seth, you don't have a turn. It's not your turn to speak.
Yeah.
You don't have the talking.
I'm
teddy
carrying
bear.
the talking baton. I'm allowed to fucking speak.
No, dude. I love how the council meeting scene starts. It's that fucking random ass guy. He's like, well,
Yep.
corn actually grows
Yeah,
pretty fast in this
and here's
area.
the
We
here's
should
the
start
thing.
doing
You in
corn.
any type of meeting like that, whether it's you probably see it like with school boards or whatever type of meeting or whatever you have, and there's always that one person that will be like, "We gotta save this, we gotta save that," even though it has nothing to do with what they're trying to,
Oh yeah, this is
you
Parks
know.
and Rec. They totally did an homage to Parks and Rec, where they're like, you said not to drink the drinking water or the fountain water, and I made tea with it, and now I have an infection. And it's like, it's like, it's like what? And so when he's doing that, and then I laugh because I'm like, you know what? Although I was giving that guy credit, I was like, you know what, that guy's got a
Yeah,
point. Like I get what
yeah,
I get that,
It
but
was just so
not.
random. That's why I thought it was funny. I'm like, of course
right,
this guy's
yeah.
speaking
They're like,
first.
thank you.
You
Next.
next.
It's like the writers were like, okay, how do we include subtle comedy? Okay, let's just add this in there, and then the next one will have a compelling mother talk about the story of like her lost
Mhm,
ones, and I did like her points too because she was like, we all have suffered losses. Like we're not just
mhm,
gonna all go in pursuit of like one loss. But again, it's handled in a different manner. Like all of the other victims of Jackson died from the wounds of the infected, and Joel was murdered in a gruesome way. So it's like you can't categorize one. So I really like that when it was time for Ellie to speak up, she even said like, I'm not after revenge, I'm after
mhm.
justice, something that used to be served,
But she's
something that
after
you did.
revenge.
And again, it's a stretch. Ellie doesn't mean any of this. She's
Yeah.
already made up her mind to go. And
Yes.
a part of me also thought, why does this council meeting need to happen? It's again, I get it. It's because Jackson is based on this level of democracy, and they all want to be like this focal point of like society, like the remnants of society. Like this is how we run things. Like we do it this way. Like, and Tommy's all for that too. As supportive as he wants to be for Ellie, he still remembers his place. People depend on
Oh
him.
yeah.
It's not just Ellie.
I would just say it's an independent variable. It's an independent setting that challenges the very beliefs of Ellie,
Mhm.
and it's not just a device used to move plot. Again, I'm going to say that over and over again. It makes me like Jackson even more. Like it's
Yeah.
not just a place to be used as a means to an end for the story. So
Yeah, it's actually like a physical character in the show. It has a place.
And it's more
It
lively
got a
too,
place
if
of
you think
belonging.
about it, because there's
that's
so many dynamics of Jackson compared to the game that we got, you know?
they had a fucking baseball game, and I'm like,
Yeah!
shoot,
Bro, I know right after the scene.
Yeah!
But
I'm like, what?
I
I'm like,
will
where are you fitting the baseball field?
but I will say though, hands down, I was so surprised at Seth's reaction when that one doctor was like speaking up, and he's like, "We're
Mhm.
not supposed to seek revenge or vengeance," and he's like, "What? So someone kills your brother, you're just gonna leave your doors unlocked and call it good?" Like, what happened? You bunch of victims. Like, I love that he stood. And not
Yeah.
only that, Joel pushed this man down, and now he's walking around with a cane, and he's still standing up for this
Yeah.
man. Dude,
He's
Seth
shaken,
is a
but
G in my book now,
they
officially.
fleshed out his character because in the game we only see him as this older gentleman
Big,
who kind of has his views, and it's just like,
yeah, it's kind of bigoted. No, you know what they
yeah,
did? To be honest, that was a nice little homage to I bet you everyone that probably labeled that gentleman. And they start, he's flawed, but he's
yeah,
flawed, not that he's one specific label. Like
right,
you're like, yeah, you probably just viewed him as just being bigoted, but guess what? Now he's a little bit more complicated than that now. And it's like,
yep,
like, obviously I don't really have I liked the scene and I'm not gonna say I support and condone stuff like that. That's I don't. But people are dynamic and that was definitely to show that characters are multi-level and they're dynamic. And
right,
so because I bet you most people view that character and they're like, all right, he's gonna be that guy for the whole show. It's like, no, I'm also gonna be the guy that like kind of agrees with Ellie. Like we need to like go and like get some justice and like show our strength and not just be a bunch of like pushovers and like really kind of close this out. So,
Mhm.
but obviously that in a way that's also flawed because there's other ramifications. But no, I thought that was a great scene. I was like, I'm like this guy right here. And then even later on, when it gets to the point where he helps them, get out in the next like 15 minutes,
oh yeah,
I'm like, God, I'm like, you're just really trying to make people who put this guy in a box like question themselves. I really dug it.
But yeah, let's talk about that baseball scene. So we're kind of like right after that council meeting, we're taken out of it, and we see all these kids like playing baseball, and then Gail's over there, happy hour time. And then she's
she's
met
got
by
the
Tommy.
VIP seats.
Yeah, she got the VIP seats. Tommy comes over. Q scene left Tommy. He sits down. They open. They each like cheers to a beer, and they kind of reflect on like the council meeting. Tommy's like, "Oh yeah, I saw you. I saw you there. What did you think of what Ellie's speech was about?" She's like, "Well, I don't buy
Hmm.
it. Like she's a liar." Um, and the thing that I thought was interesting about their whole conversation summed up was that she says the path that Ellie's on is the path she chose way before she
Hmm.
was with Ellie. I mean, way before she
Was
was with
Joel.
Joel. Um, so some people can't be saved, and I don't know if Tommy really takes this to heart, but it is interesting that she is just like one of those quote unquote like therapist characters, but she tells it like it is. Like that unhinged therapist that's like, I'm gonna be a psychological vigilante. Like, I'm gonna hear what you have to say, but then I'm also gonna tell you like how to fix your problems. Like I'm just gonna state things out for the obvious.
I just went to open the window. It's freaking hot in here. Just the kids scream bloody murder like every time at 5.
Oh my
Should we close?
God.
god,
Because it's so
why?
loud. No. This girl has.
Are they playing or what?
They are, but
Okay.
one of them's like a newborn who's now like a toddler,
Mhm.
but she's been like screaming like since she was born. Like
Mhm.
there's no like shout or yell. It's scream, and it's like
Oh
okay,
God.
all
To
right.
this day, to this day.
And we're kind of like, you know what? Good for the kids for playing outside. I'm like actually really stoked, but a part of me is like, you shut the hell up.
That's that's really what it is though. Like I,
Yeah.
I'm I see it the same way. Like I like to see them just like interacting, like using the imagination, just playing outside, getting dirty, like just messing around and stuff. Uh, but then again, it's like when it's a nuisance to you, it's the same analogy that I give when you're dealing with fireworks. Fireworks are a nuisance unless you are actively trying to participate in them or they're happening right in front of you. That's the only time. Any other time, it's just like fucking fireworks. Really? Why? Well, it's not even 4th of July. It's not even July. It's March. What are we celebrating? Why are there fireworks going off? Oh, a team won? Okay, all right, got you. Like, I don't know. Anyways, I digress. But okay. You know what I really liked? Shortly after the baseball scene, what do we see? We see the fucking workbench. Ellie is at the workbench. I'm
I
like,
didn't even think
yes!
about that.
Yeah.
I loved that little Easter egg add-in.
All I want to see is her. All she needs now is to kill someone and call him a fucker, and then it's full circle. I'm like, I'm waiting for that. When she does that, I'm gonna take like a shot. I'm gonna be like, all right, let's go. Like,
and not only that, but like tie her hair back, in the ponytail.
she's starting to do that.
Did they do that at the end of this
Yeah.
episode? I don't remember.
Yeah, she's starting to do that. I've seen it.
Okay, all right. Anyways, so like right after the workbench, Dina knocks on the door. Ellie's like, oh shit, and then Dina's like, oh yeah, comes in, asks her like, okay, well I clearly see that you're setting off without me. What's your plan? And Ellie like states like, head northwest. She's like, you're cute. And then Dina comes in clutch yet again, best character, coming in and be like, well, you don't have medical supplies. You're only going to be able to carry everything what you can fit in your backpack and your holster, which I love because obviously that's what you have in the game standards. So it's very realistic and it's already establishing that grounding feeling. Like you're not coming back for a while. Take everything that you think you can need. And Dina's even saying this, like, well, oh, so you have supplies to help you in case you like break an ankle. And you're traveling in your chucks across states.
Here's something funny. So I don't know if you guys know this, but did you know that she actually played Dora the Explorer? And the thing is, so what's cool about that whole scene of her with the map, I love how she, the boots is the monkey, so that's why they put that in there. She's like, you gotta have boots. Yeah.
Oh, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I did not need that glass shattering moment. You just laid on.
Oh, then they're gonna kill a fox. The fox took my fucking food. Shoots the fox. That fox swiped my food.
Only it's not going to be a fox. It's going to be a dog.
Yeah.
Dude, like in Walking Dead season 2. Oh, it's like, oh, here, dog, you want some food? Oh God, and you have to kill the dog. Oh my God. Okay. I'm getting off the rails here. So once Dina runs down the plan, and they figure out where their heading is and where they're gonna go, they shortly meet up with Seth, because she says, what I don't remember, because I know they mentioned Captain Wyoming, who is reference to Jesse, obviously. But Dina doesn't say who they're meeting up with to get the horses, right?
No.
Okay.
Oh, because she knows that Ellie won't like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did like that after this interaction. First of all, we get rifle upgrade number 1. So now Ellie has level 2 rifle. I love it. And then they get the horse, and Seth and Ellie share a look, and then they shake hands afterwards. I'm like, thank you. Came full circle. This feels a lot better and gave actual life to Seth.
Instead of just giving her a sandwich, you know?
Exactly. Because again, they just they enhanced his character in this show. And I did really like his arc in this episode, from beginning to end, hands down. That was one of the standouts. And then they set off, and once it cuts to another scene, you get the graveyard scene where Ellie goes to see Joel before setting out to Seattle. As she mentioned to Tommy earlier in the episode, like, when Tommy says, "Oh, he's buried in the graveyard 10 miles south of town,"
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll see it. I'll see him on the way to Seattle." First of all, 10 miles, really?
That's a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
It's
little
a
bit.
bit of a stretch, but
Like, what's
I
the
don't know.
point?
I mean,
What's the point in doing that?
yeah, I was wondering about like why 10 miles?
Yeah, because in the game, in Jackson, they already had a place for
They had a
kind of,
cemetery in
yeah.
town.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it made sense to put it 10 miles out because they were thinking of like future expansion to Jackson for like
They needed the
developments
shot.
and putting in
I
an
think it's more
airport,
unexpected. I think
putting
they're
in a
worried about.
casino. They're probably thinking about that
They
long term.
wanted the Dobie shot.
No, because I was gonna say is that there's a lot of cinematography in terms of like dynamic, kind of picturesque shots, and that was
Mhm.
definitely one of them. So no, I think it was more for effect rather than. And yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't argue with that, Jacob, because we do get like that sunset scene, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a takeaway from that scene. But I will say, like her at the gravestone, um, again, this was one of those scenes for me where I didn't feel it from her performance as much as I did from the impact in the game. So this is where my bias like really came out and kind of took me out of the scene. So I like what they did. I like that they showed the coffee beans.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, like what did you guys think?
You know who I felt it from? Dana.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Nah,
I just think it was just get the shot of the graveyard and just kind of
get the coffee and
get the
just
coffee and
close that
then call it a day.
chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, call it and then move
Mm-hmm.
on. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't taking too much out of it.
And that's really what it felt like. Like it almost
It
felt
reminded me of
cheap.
Harry Potter, like when Harry Potter's standing in the fields looking at Dobby's grave. That's what I kind of
Oh,
felt. But this time around, I didn't feel it as that scene though.
well, because that scene it all happened so fast. This
Yeah.
one they had a breather, so that's probably
Mm-hmm.
why.
A 3-month breather. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 month breather. Um, okay, so then once the scene ends, I just gotta say it. You know what happens next? Let's do a montage.
Yeah,
Travel
the
scene
rest
Yeah.
of this
edition.
episode's just a bunch of montage and
Yes.
except
Yeah. For
I will say
traveling.
though, like necessary montage, like bringing out some
Mm-hmm.
character qualities. The tent scene was
The
again,
horse ride banter, mind you, before
Mm-hmm.
the campout scene.
that was good. A little too anticlimactic. I was surprised they didn't run into any issues other than finding a bunch of dead people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tense scene where they kind of talk a little bit about like feelings and start growing that idea. That was really good. Just like, hey, these are also what? I think they're like 18, like
I
19.
thought
They're
that
19, yeah.
scene. Now, I thought that scene that we got in the tent was going to be in correlation to the scene we got in the game where they're in the weed house or
Yeah.
whatnot. Because I was thinking to myself, okay, this is the scene where maybe that little like Nate when we're talking about the whole bite thing, and maybe
Oh
that's
yeah.
when it.
Oh
Yes,
yeah. And it
so
doesn't
this is the
happen.
scene that I thought that was going to happen, but it was more or less them just kind of bantering and just having a fun time like how friends do or whatnot. So
Yeah. The dialogue was I was just okay with the dialogue. Again, I know they're like older teenage girls, and they're definitely acting like it in this scene, but um, I wasn't. I don't know. I guess I didn't really like take away much, but Jacob, you kind of said it right by they're slowly building this like
Well, they
intimacy
won't they?
between them.
yeah.
Yeah, because in the game it kind of happens, and then you're just kind of like watching it unfold. Whereas in the show, they want it to progress naturally at an even pace. So they're kind of like instilling that idea in like into each other's minds, and until it like festers. But what we do get is once Ellie and Dina set back out on the path, they run into the dead scars and they run into like
Mm-hmm.
this pit where all of them were. Dina sees it first while Ellie's looking at something else. And yeah, isn't Ellie looking at I forget. Ellie's looking at something while Dina looks at the pit. Was Ellie
Yeah.
looking at the father and daughter?
No, no. So Dina was. So what happens is Dina goes in the bush, and Ellie's looking at the little symbol on the jacket of the guy on the ground, and then that's
Okay,
when Dina
okay.
comes out and starts showing up. And I will tell you this: that is the moment where they did the pregnant thing, because in the game she throws up by seeing the dead horse, and she throws up.
Yeah.
So this is the I'm throwing up, and she even mentions that doesn't really happen before with her getting sick. I'm like, yep, bitch, we know you're pregnant.
Yeah, she said it was the smell that
Yeah.
got to her.
Mhm.
And that was the same excuse that she used in the game. So
Yeah.
I did like that they kept it
Mhm.
very subtle. Like we're just gonna naturally like sprinkle this hint in there.
I kinda almost wished they showed these scars like this besides the first scene we got with them. I would have rather had them come across the dead, Sarites or scars just because
Seraphites, yeah.
yeah, because that way it's more mysterious. It's like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" Right?
And you
So, I
don't
don't
hear them
know.
whistle. So
Yeah,
that's still
because
left
yeah, because
as a mystery.
I think the whistling is so key to their communication. It's that I don't know. Maybe that scene would have been a better scene to introduce them than the first one that we got. Because if you see these dead people with this mysterious symbol, then it's like, okay, that's a perfect way to kind of sprinkle in the mystery a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for Ellie and Dina, they're seeing them for the first time. It's just us
Right.
viewers that see that. So
Yeah.
technically, you're not wrong for our two characters. Um, but yes, we do get the Dina referencing that she, could potentially be pregnant. And isn't it also referenced in the tent that she went back
Yeah.
with Jesse?
Yep. She did mention that. Yeah. And she's like,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
because I thought I heard that too. And then the final scene is, and this is what was funny, is when Ellie and I had a feeling that the episode was going to end like when they're getting like to Seattle or on the way to Seattle. So I did like that they had the signs like leading to Seattle. They saw the car, just like they did in the game, indicating that they were getting close. And then they see the city of Seattle, and then right before setting off, you get the next scene um, you get the next scene with, I believe it's Manny.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? And I don't know if you guys noticed this, it's going to work a lot different than the game because remember, in the game, Manny is with what's his name? Fuck, what's his name? There's that kid that is with them, and he gets stabbed in the neck or whatnot. Remember that scene where Ellie's tied up? She gets the knife or the glass, cuts it, and then stabs him in the neck.
That's
The
not
guy's
Manny
name.
though.
No, I know, but that's what I'm
Hey,
saying. They're
Manny.
taking out. I
Don't be
know,
like
like they're
that.
taking out. So they're taking out that guy that gets stabbed in the game. So it's going to be interesting to see that Manny is going to be the first one to go, besides that dude first with the whole glass
I don't
thing.
know, dude. Possibly because in the game, Manny doesn't get downed until Tommy snipes him.
Yeah, so he might die early because here I need to look this up real quick.
Okay, while you look that up, I will say, once Manny is, I was slightly confused because once Manny like talks on the radio and is like, they're telling him like check these two sectors, and he uses the binos. I thought in that moment he was seeing Ellie and Dina, but then he said all
Hmm.
clear, and then you guys move forward.
And then
I'm
they
like,
have a
oh shit,
giant army of cluster
dude,
guns, which I went, why are we walking in that formation? I'm like, what are the
dude.
people in the middle going to do?
I know they have an APC, and then they have a giant patrol out. So I'm curious how big they're gonna make the wolves in this show, because you have to imagine if this is just one small force moving, they have to have more, because in the game they have enough people to fill a football stadium. That's where they kind of like make base, and that's not including smaller patrols that they have stationed elsewhere. Um, so I think they're going to be huge. I think they're going to be a very huge element. I think we get Isaac referenced in the next episode. I do like that we didn't see Abby in this one, and it did kind of stay localized to the main characters. So no flashbacks either. No flashbacks in this episode, as I thought.
Not yet. They'll come though. They'll get there.
It focused more on the suffering and loss within Jackson and how they're slowly starting to rebuild from that.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a good episode to focus around that. To be honest, besides Seth, everyone else in the episode seemed to I don't know, seemed to blend in. No one else really
No,
stood
the
out for me.
therapist didn't. The therapist didn't stick out to you.
Not well, I don't know. Nothing. Okay, I guess I kind of take that back.
And Tommy, I thought Tommy
Not
might
really.
be. Not really.
No,
Hmm.
no. Tommy just kind of seemed like in
Or
the
Dina.
No, she was definitely present, but Tommy had the reason I was conflicted with Tommy is you saw in his he acted a lot with just his look in this episode, and because he has like one brief interaction with Ellie, and then in the council when they're reading the yeses and nos for the pursuit in Ellie's mission to Seattle, and it's denied. Tommy's looking at the people that said no. Like you can tell he's conflicted because he wants to
Yeah.
help her, but the system that he supports is proving to him that this isn't going to be done. Like, and if it's going to be done, it's going to be outside the system. So I almost feel that once the council determines that Ellie has left and has taken Dina with her, I think that Tommy and Jesse are the second party to go retrieve them.
I think he was going to leave regardless because I think after he talked to the therapist about that whole thing, I think that set in stone what he was going to do. I believe just
You
because.
think so?
Yeah, because I think he needed that talk of. It's one of those things where it's like Ellie's on her own path, like she said, and that kind of gave him that kind of like eye-opening, like she's going to do what she's going to do, and she's going, go. So, and I think in his mindset, and I kind of like the line that the therapist gave. It's therapists can help a person, but there's certain people that can't be saved because a therapist can give you tools and different things to help, but the person themselves have to put in the work, if that makes
groundwork,
sense. So
yeah.
So I think in that conversation, knowing that he knows how Ellie is, and she's just, regardless of what the council thinks, he knows that she's going to be going. And I think that whole conversation with the therapist, I think he's going to leave Jackson. And I think right after that conversation, I'm like, yeah, he's going to do what he did in the games and leave, and we'll see him later in the probably season 3 most likely, maybe end of
No,
season
we'll
2.
see him again. We'll see him again.
Well, I meant like with when they're maybe closer to the end of season 2, maybe when they have the theater scene, which I'm thinking will be the finale, I believe, like
We'll
after
see.
all
Yeah,
that
we'll
stuff.
see.
So
Yeah, how many episodes do we have left?
It's 7 total, I believe.
4 more. Yeah, so we got 4
Okay, 4 more. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So they gotta, and with the pace that they're doing, I'm hoping
They definitely get theater next episode.
Yeah, so I'm thinking we're still getting Ellie's stuff next episode, but then I think the episode after we're going to possibly get the Abby stuff with the stadium, most likely. Maybe, unless they want to save all that Abby stuff for season 3. I don't know how they're going to split that up.
I think they might even add it next episode. In the preview, they were kind of hinting at it.
I didn't see the preview.
See, I didn't see the preview, but I feel like it's all necessary, just like what they did in this episode for world expanding. They wanted to give you another clan. They wanted to give you someone else to pay attention to and start asking yourself questions for people that haven't played the game. Next episode, I can easily see them focusing on Ellie and Dina making it to the theater. Mm-hmm. And they've already shown the Seraphites. So if they do show Abby, they're going to show more of the wolves and their conflict with the Seraphites to kind of build that up. because I feel like that's the next thing that they need to establish.
And I'm hoping we get the scene where Ellie tells Dina that she's immune. I think that should probably happen soon. I think, hopefully.
That happens before the theater, right?
I'm not gonna say anything because there was already
Oh, are they
some preview
previewing
stuff
it?
where they're kind
Gotcha.
of like you can put 2 to 2 together where you can
But-
see.
Gotcha.
But no,
Okay.
that's the thing. If you have to think back, like in the second game, they make it to the theater with Dina already knowing.
Right.
So if that's true, then we know that that's revealed next episode, and they make it to the theater. They have to. That has to be like the ending point, because for the characters, they need to have somewhere to like kind of like rest before the next move. I don't see them ending it anywhere else.
Yeah.
Or I'll be surprised if they don't. I just feel like they shouldn't be traveling for a full episode, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't
Nah.
make sense, especially since they're already in Seattle.
Mhm.
But I will be curious to see how many puzzles they add from the game. Like, how many scenes are we gonna at least get one scene with Ellie
Show me that fucking rope.
getting the rope or even an extension cord
Yeah.
and plugging it in somewhere far away? Come on now. All right. Well, I don't know. Last statements?
Episode was all right.
I
It's a
liked it.
solid 6.5 out of
Yeah.
10.
I'm with you. I say 6
Yeah.
out of 10.
I think it's a 10 out of 10. They can
Jacob, you golden star, you. I love you, man. No judgment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and tune in next week for episode 4. Yeah, we'll all see what happens then. And until next time, take care.